Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
This is a complicated gospel, isn't it? So let's pull it apart a little bit. So in this gospel reading, we have the preparation for the crucifixion, which is coming pretty soon. And there's kind of this sense that they know that something's wrong, that they know that something's coming down, and yet they're not fully aware of what that looks like. And Mary and Martha are the sisters. Remember, Lazarus is their brother, and they're very, 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 very close to Jesus. And so they have a sense that something's wrong, that something's going to go very wrong. And he's been preparing for them for that, so they know it. And we have this incredible moment where they're all eating together. And I think one of the most important things to realize, that when really, really important things happen in the Bible, they center around that just kind of a relaxed, common meal or just relaxed time together. They're not these big, explosive moments, but they're these moments when we are really vulnerable with each other and really, really close with each other. And so we have this moment together. And Mary does this wild, bizarre thing. I mean, it's bizarre. And let's talk about how bizarre it really is. Because one of the most important boundaries for women at this time in history is their hair. Because, I don't know if you guys know this, but hair is like all sexy. Okay, maybe not so much in our culture, but like at that time it was. And so this is really crossing the boundaries here. Really, really crossing the boundaries. And then, because I know that now we like to think that if you're really good Christians, like you're going to be really, really rich and powerful. We got that whole prosperity gospel thing. It's a lie. It's not true. And it really wasn't true at this time. So these people are pretty poor, right? They don't have a lot of money. So she does this extravagant thing. She has this really, really expensive perfume. And this is a lot of perfume. It's a very expensive perfume. And she uses it on his feet. She anoints his feet. And that's a powerful image because it's extravagant. It's extremely wasteful. Anyone here who likes to wear perfume, would you ever put it on your feet? No, that's ridiculous. Okay, I'm not a huge perfume wearer myself, but it's expensive, right? Which is probably why I don't wear it, because y'all know I'm really cheap. But you wouldn't pour it on your feet. You wouldn't pour it on somebody else's feet. That's ridiculous. But she does. That's a powerful image. And it's ridiculous, and it's bizarre, and it's absurd. And Judas is right. Because Judas is like, guys, this is ridiculous. Like, we don't have a lot of money, and we could have used this money for, like, something that would be worthwhile. You know, like helping people. We could have sold this, and we could have helped people with it. And that is such a logical thing to say that even the writer of this gospel has to pull out for us the reasons why it's not okay for him to say it. Do you notice that? They're like, stage whisper, but the real reason he said that is because he's bad. But it's logical because he's right. Who would do this? It's absurd. It's ridiculous. And yet, that's what God honors, right? And I think that's really, really important because love is stupid. Love is ridiculous, it's absurd, it's illogical, it's wasteful, it's insane. It's completely absurd. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And I want us to hear that because that's God. And so we have this incredible moment where she shows that kind of love and devotion and sense of incredible, powerful moments. And it doesn't make sense. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. God's love for us is absurd and ridiculous. And when we have that sense of extravagant love that's absurd and ridiculous and illogical and doesn't make any sense, that's God working in our lives. But we want to logic it, right? We want it to make sense. We want to say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this because of this. But then God swoops in and says, no. It's going to be crazy, and it's going to be wild, and it's going to be absurd, and it's going to be ridiculous, and it's going to feel bizarre. And that's God acting in our lives. So as we come up on the resurrection, because we're going to go through the crucifixion, we're going to go through the deep, intense trauma that is the crucifixion. And you cannot have an absurd, ridiculous, insane love without that sense of loss and that trauma. It's the reality of life. The most amazing things in our world only come through trauma. And yet, that's where God acts. And so I want us to really think about that as we make our way towards the cross. Because it doesn't make sense. I want us all to take a moment to think about the fact that we worship a God who lost. Think about that. We worship a God who was crucified by the state, and he died. He lost. And it's only in being willing to go into that complete loss, that intense trauma, that feeling that there's nothing that's ever going to be okay again, that we find resurrection. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's bizarre. It breaks every single rule that we think should exist as humans. But that's God. So as we walk our way towards the cross, I want you to think about that. I want you to embrace a love that's so insane, that's so ridiculous, that's so bizarre. And realize that that's God in your lives. That's God calling. God isn't logical. God doesn't make sense. Judas makes sense. Anyone here? Because I would totally, and I'm just going to be honest with you, I would totally be the Judas here. I'd be like, this is ridiculous. Y'all who've sat on vestry with me, where I like go, and every vestry member here is like, yeah, we've been there when she's like yelling at us about money. She's like, no, we're not going to spend money on that. Every vestry member in here is like, yep, we've been there. But then to realize that yes, that's logical and that makes sense, and that's how we run things. That's what we do as humans. But God crashes in and explodes all of that and does the ridiculous and the absurd. So be open to the ridiculous and the absurd and know that maybe, just maybe, that's God breaking through our logic and our sanity, bringing us closer to resurrection.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.